All right, hi everybody, John Meadows here, back with my main man, James Seals, your guys' favorite. You never harass him as much as you do me, but that's all right. So today we're going to train chest, and we're going to do 4 exercises, and I believe this would be about as close to what you would call a perfect chest workout as you can get. So let's get to work. All right, so we're going to start off with a slight decline dumbbell press. Now, this has been one of my favorite chest exercises for a long time. Basically, when you think about your chest, there's a couple different portions of it. This is not new. You've all heard this before. You got the clavicular head that does this, all the sternal fibers that do this. So nothing new there. But what I will say this is people underestimate the slight decline. There's if you're into the science, there's a real cool study done by, I think it's spelled L-A-U-V-E-R, Lauver, that's pretty popular, where they tested different angles, training your chest of what portions of your chest that activated the most. And the slight decline, interestingly enough, was great for the sternal part of your chest, so all this we'll call it. So I also feel like this exercise is easy on your joints too. But basically, a slight decline showed that it gave you a little bit more activation in the sternal head of your pecs more than any other angle. So we're starting right here with this exercise, and we're doing sets of 8. So we're going to work up to a heavy 8, okay? Here we go. There we go. Easy. Good. 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 So if you notice when James was pressing, he was letting his hands come outside his shoulder width. That's what you want to do. You don't want to get in too close, slightly wider than shoulder width. You get a little adduction coming this way too, which is a good thing. So when you're doing your press, hands out a little bit past shoulder width, okay? That's the form we're trying to get, all right? All right, guys, so again, just a reminder, we're working, you're working on your whole chest, all right? We're just biasing the sternal head of your pecs a little bit more. So sternal, your sternum ties in, everything ties in right here in that bicipital groove. So how we train that is like this. So it's almost like if you're doing a crossover, you'd be doing this. That's essentially what we're doing when we're laying there. So remember, wider than shoulder width and drive in. That's all we did. That's exactly what we did there. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to work more the clavicular head of our pecs. And this is the contentious head. Everybody has different ideas on what works at. I'll give you my opinion, take it or leave it. So we did our heavy set here, time to move on. All right, guys, so now we're going to move on to the incline bench press. The reason why we're doing this is for our upper pecs, or the clavicular head of your pectoralis major. So this is the fibers that attach to your clavicle and tie into your insertion here in your bicipital groove. So a lot of people don't think inclines even train your upper chest. I'm a little bit old school. I'm not doing these just because people did them in the past. When I say old school, I mean when I train incline angles, I actually get sore up here. If I'm getting sore up here, it's working those fibers. So nobody's going to tell me an incline isn't working my upper chest, because that's where I feel it. Just the same way as if you do a decline press, if you feel it in your lower pecs, it's working your lower pecs. It's really simple. Sometimes we make this stuff way, way overcomplicated. A lot of people don't even think this works your upper pecs because of where the origin and insertion of the muscles are, but they forget about how your pecs work with your shoulders and shoulder flexion. Well, you're essentially working your anterior delt here too, via a flexed shoulder. So you're working your front delt and your upper pec. And by moving the bar this way, you are shortening this distance between here and here. And that's what all the experts say. You just got to shorten the distance between the origin and insertion. Well, that's what we're doing. So, you know, I know a lot of people like to pull cables up this way, and I do too. I like that. But I would never say that that's more effective for your chest, for mass, as opposed to a barbell incline. I would never say that. I will say this too. This incline is a little high, so we are going to get a little bit more anterior delt. Ideally, I would like it to be around 30 degrees. But it doesn't hurt to have bigger shoulders too. So we're going to get bigger shoulders and a bigger uppercut. Okay. Ooh, that felt good. So a couple more things. You'll notice James and I kind of stop a couple inches above our chest. That personally makes it easier on our rotator cuff. When I used to take these all the way down, I'd get really sore rotators. And honestly, it's just not worth it to me anymore to beat up my shoulders. I'm 47, my shoulders feel good. I prefer to keep it that way. You could also make the argument, if you notice, we actually pause it too. You could also make the argument we're keeping a ton of stress there and we're not sitting on the bottom of sitting on our chest and losing stress. We're actually keeping the tension. So, sets of 6, still moving up. Okay. Nice. Perfect. Keep it. All right, now guys, those of you who are astute with your mechanics, you could tell that James is doing something a little different than I am. Now, here's the deal. So if you go wider on your grip, now you get more of that sternal head we were talking about over there. Those are the fibers that run from your sternum to the bicipital groove. When you're a little more narrow, and this doesn't just apply to inclines, this applies to benches on flat, decline. Anytime you're a little more narrow, you get more of that clavicular head. So you can, I'm talking about what part of your chest this works, you can alter that by the grip you're using. So James is getting a little bit more in the sternal head than I am. I'm probably getting a little bit more of the clavicular head. It's just what's your goal? Where do you want to put the muscle on? It's not right or wrong. It's just tailoring exercise to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So, another little tip for you. All right, those of you who have banged up shoulders, I would advise you to use more dumbbells than barbells. When you're doing a barbell bench press or incline, your shoulders have to provide a lot of stabilization. Inevitably, that can just beat them up. James and I actually haven't done these. It's been 4 months? It's been like 4 months. So our shoulders, both of our shoulders feel super fresh right now. They feel really good. Sometimes when we're doing these every week, shoulders get really banged up. I realize we both love these, but we don't love them so much. We're not afraid to listen to what our bodies are telling us. So this is the first time we've done these in about 4 months. So we're not going to get too crazy. This will probably be our last set here at 275. Shoot for 6 reps. I like for you to keep your reps around 6. You can go 8 to 10 if you want. What really matters is you're just doing hard reps. That's all. All right, guys. So a lot of what I talked about, the clavicular head, the sternal head, you'll see that on all kinds of videos. Might not even be anything new for you, but I'll tell you one unique thing that James and I do is we train our pec minor. It sits underneath your pec major. You'll notice nobody trains it now. The reason why we do is because we were influenced by some of the old school guys like Vince Gironda. That's who made these really popular. So you have a muscle called your pec minor that sits under your pec major. It goes from your 3rd to 5th rib up to your coracoid process. But what it does, it's think about a reverse shrug. So a shrug is this way. This muscle does the opposite. It does this. Now, it's a really unique pump that you get. When that muscle works, it pumps, it's a muscle, it pumps up. You can literally feel your chest getting bigger because of the muscle underneath that's lifting it and pushing it up. And it'll give you a real unique feeling of soreness that I can guarantee you've never felt before if you haven't done these. You want to keep straight arms, tuck your head, and you want to reverse shrug. Okay, these are hard. If you're too weak to do them, what you can do is you can get on a tricep dip machine and you can lock it out and you can just push the weight down that way. But this is kind of the old school way. I want your feet out in front of you a little bit. It's going to take some practice if you haven't done these, so don't think you're going to get them on your first try. Kind of narrow, you don't want to be real wide. So feet out in front, straight arms. All right. You got to try to eliminate sway too. That's one of the hard things. Getting a little crazy in here this morning, isn't it? So in this, we're going to just go to failure. Ideally, it's between 10 and 15 reps. If you can only get 6, that's cool. Just maybe do another set or 2. We're doing 3 sets. If you can do more than 15, like if you're super strong on these, then you can add a belt. You can actually add some weight. I would put these in the middle of your workout. I wouldn't exhaust your musculature on something like this before you do like your inclines. But if you do these dead last, your pecs might be so tired you can't even do them. So these are like somewhere in the middle of your workout. We're doing them 3rd out of 4 today. I wouldn't do them 1, I wouldn't do them 4. I guess you could do them first if you didn't go too crazy, but I actually do want you to go crazy on these. I actually do want you to go to failure on these. So last set. Also notice I'm not real wide. Right in here. All right, so we're going to finish with a fly. A lot of people would say that this adduction is probably the most important thing you do for your chest. I don't know that I agree with that. I wouldn't replace all my presses with flying. But it is a very good movement. So the nice thing about this machine is it's a variable resistance machine. So we can load at the bottom. You can make it heavier there, at the mid-range point, or at the contracted point. Now, the problem with flies, regular flies, is once you get them up to here, the tension really kind of goes away at the end. But with this machine, we've got it set so that once you get to here, it loads even more, so you have to continue to work hard and really squeeze to finish the fly. This is my favorite version of a fly by far. Because again, you can adjust the machine so that it's hard at the top where you really feel that contraction. So we're going to do 3 sets of about 10 reps here. Burn. All right, so that's our chest workout for today. So I want to just kind of circle back and go through some of the tips from today. We started with a slight decline press. Use a slight decline on your dumbbells to get a little better activation of the sternal fibers for your pecs. Okay, that's the tip. Those are the fibers that run from your sternum up to the origin up here, or the insertion. Okay, so slight decline. Incline barbell press, okay? You're going to get some shoulder extension, which is part of what your upper pecs do, the clavicular head of your pec major. It also assists with shoulder flexion. So the upper pecs do get worked with an incline. Don't believe the nonsense that a slight angle doesn't work your upper chest. It does. And you'll know because it gets sore. So also remember, a medium grip is going to get the most activation out of that head. The wider you go, the more you're going to get into that sternal head, which is fine if that's what you want to do. So I prefer a 30-degree angle. The higher you get, the more front delt it's going to be. Okay? The third thing we do, train your pec minor. That's why we did the pec minor dips that Vince Gironda made famous. So train your pec minor. That muscle sits under your pec major. It gets a pump just like your pec major, gives you a nice little lift in your chest. That's part of the reasons why some of the old school guys, their side chest was so barrel look, because they did a lot of those Gironda dips. And tip number 4 is use an adduction exercise. So we did a fly. Now I prefer that you use a machine so that you can keep tension here if possible. So I think with all those tips, you'll be able to have a really good chest workout, working all areas of your pec. But again, doesn't matter how fancy this is and all the angles you use if you don't work hard. You gotta work hard, you gotta make your sets count. Your last set of each exercise should be to complete failure. Okay? So whether you're natural, non-natural, don't give me that BS that you can't go to failure. Go to failure no matter what, okay? On your last set of each exercise, you should work up to it intelligently. So that's it, folks. Thanks again for watching. So James and I are going to think about our next move, probably do some shoulder work. We'll see you next time.